TPS 14, the Protagonist Show. Josh and Dan talking all things soccer, every league around the world, etc., etc. But maybe not all of it, but we'll give you 30 minutes. Josh, welcome to the show. How are we doing? Foreshadow indeed. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I was checking my mail today, as I do, and something showed up on my doorstep. And I had plans to wear a different shirt today, but this one showed up, and so I could not wear a shirt sent to me by my very best friend, Dan Vaughn.
My guy, every once in a while, you bump into something and you're like, you know what? That looked good on my friend. That sounds weird when you say it that way, but I was talking about polishing cheese on the previous podcast. So anyway, but it looks fantastic on you.
Thank you.
Didn't get you a win, and I'm good with that. Speaking of foreshadowing, the Premier League launched into its season over the weekend. And both Josh and myself didn't get wins, but at least he got a draw.
A point's better than no points.
Point's better than no point. Manchester United continues to crap the bed delightfully. It's so fun to watch. And
Don't
this
be so
time,
hard on it.
oh my God. Well, it is what it is. I mean, I've come to the conclusion that it's a karmic swing in the universe. We had all that glory. It's when I became a Manchester United fan was during all that glory, the Wayne Rooney years, it was good times, Sir Alex on the sideline, and now we suffer, and that's just part of life. It's the cycle of life. We're in our chrysalis now, I think. I don't know. Hopefully we'll become a beautiful butterfly eventually. How do you feel about your team's chances? I know you're a Newcastle United fan.
Yeah. It's Dan, I'll tell you, I've been a Newcastle United fan for 30 years. And so it's the dark times that define us. Trust me. Several relegations, no trophies for years and years. And so to be mocked for celebrating the first trophy in, I think, something like 70 years, just come on, let us enjoy the one thing we got last year. I think that Newcastle looked good. I think that they created a lot of chances in their opening day match. I think that the one thing that they were missing was very obvious. They were missing. I mean, Isak. We don't have the time to get into the Isak saga, but what I will say is what Newcastle needs is a forward. And honestly, I think any clinical forward could have finished off some of those chances that were created. So wherever Isak goes, if he stays, if he goes, whatever Newcastle do, I think that they looked good. They just needed someone up top that could finish up those chances. Dan, I know you started off real hot and you came in real hot and it sounds like you're being really hard on Manchester United's performance. I will tell you, I did watch that game versus the Arsenal, and I think United at times looked incredibly dangerous. I think there are two new players in particular, Cunha and Mbeumo, stood out. Their outstanding performances. I think that it's just against any other team than the team that I picked to win the league this year. I think Arsenal are a fantastic team with great pair of central defenders, and that's just a really difficult team to break down. I think when United get to face against, I think, you get the West Hams, you get the Brentfords. I think you're going to be really happy with some of the changes that Amorim is going to bring to your team. You will enjoy the season more than you did last year.
You mentioned Mbeumo. That's a mouthful. Not the easiest thing, but I remember him last year playing for Brentford and how much I enjoyed what he brought to the game. And so I'm hopeful that we get some of that. We could use some joy. I think there's always so much pressure that United play under because of the heaviness of the crest and the accomplishments of the past. I think the fan base right now is at a low point. I mean, it sucks whenever your team sucks, especially when you used to be great, because everyone loves to throw that at you.
Yeah.
I was on Blue Sky and posted about the match that was going on, and someone responded that I said it sucks to lose to Arsenal, and his response was, "You should be used to it by now." And I said,
"The season has begun."
I said, "Well, you've been good for 5 minutes, so congratulations on that for your team." It is what it is. I think this year I've decided to lean into my fandom, and I've been a Manchester United fan for a long time, but I've lapsed over the last couple of years, just doing soccer like as sort of a massive hobby sort of ate up all my soccer bandwidth, and so skipping a soccer match is easy. But with Peacock, being able to watch most of the matches on there, and I already use Peacock for another league we're about to talk about, it's a natural fit. And you know what? Hope springs eternal. Week one, you can always hope. And we can, like, just as you were talking about, we have the consolation of, well, we looked better, but unfortunately, looks don't win you matches. And yet here we are. So yeah, Premier League, good times. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll tell you one last thing. You and I can find, we're going to play each other at least twice this year, and it's always it's a competitive moment. But I'll tell you one thing we can both celebrate and look forward to. Every time Liverpool takes the field, it's a chance for them to lose. I root against them. I cheer for my team, but Liverpool I actively root against. So
when they were even, I was hopeful, and then of course, then look, Liverpool's a great soccer team. That's just the truth, and have honestly one of my favorite soccer players in the world. Mo Salah is just
he's
such
a fantastic
pleasure.
Human being.
That is what really. Yes, there are great strikers, great forwards all over the world, but he brings a level of class that is like just. He's just a humble man. Yeah, loved it. Loved all the celebrations celebrating Jota and getting his 2-0 up for his jersey number and trying to preserve memories of players past. But yeah, man, the Premier League, it's good times. I'm excited about it. That's why I put it on here. I put this on here. Well, I'm also very excited about the guest that's coming on for topic 2. The Super League, the USL Super League is set to kick off. I know we've talked about this a little bit on the show, but I thought I know a guy that talks about this all the time on a show that I'm also on. So we're bringing on a guest to introduce the league's second year, and we're bringing on Mr. John Howard-Fusco. John Howard-Fusco, welcome to the show tonight, sir.
Hey, evening, Dan. Evening, Joshua. How are we all doing tonight?
What a joy. What a joy to have you on, John.
Appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. John and I actually just got done recording a different show this evening, the Super Show, which is Protagonist Soccer's Super League focused podcast. John and I have been doing that. We did it all last year. We also do USLW podcast. We do the W show. So, and John and I, we go back even further than that. We were co-hosts of a little show called Having a Pie, which John likes to try to forget, and he thought I was going a different direction there. That only makes it
Having a Pie. What a deep cut.
Oh man. If any of you out there even listen to that podcast, like, shame on you.
I don't, I could probably go back and look at the numbers. I don't think many people were listening to that show.
It was a dark times, man.
Well, John, obviously we mentioned the Super League is coming back this weekend. How has the off season been? Like, how would you describe it?
It's very intriguing to see this league going into the second season. First of all, we saw a lot of veteran players, a lot of professional players with experience in Europe coming over and fortifying the rosters. We have a new club joining, Sporting Jacks, which built its roster primarily in younger players, which will be interesting to see how that flies this year. We saw what happened with Lexington last year when they started the season with a roster of younger players. They really struggled. I think Jacksonville is probably going to have the similar outcome. We'll have to see. But the stronger teams got even stronger. I thought Tampa Bay improved their roster. Carolina improved their roster. I would say probably the biggest talking point in the off season was what Lexington SC did in terms of opening up the wallets and buying players, and they just totally revamped the roster. They went from a club that finished last to a club that you expect not just to make the playoffs but to compete for a title, and so it's going to be a major turnaround, and we'll have to see how that works out.
Yeah, it is interesting how big of a change that might be for them. Finished 7th last season. It'll be interesting to see how they jump in, and if they don't, what that looks like too, because there could be some panicked things going on within clubs. I was going to say, this has been a really short off season, which is tough to get your head around as a soccer fan, particularly if you come from amateur soccer where the off season is really most of the year. Like, this has been quick.
Yeah, and I think the season's going to end a little sooner than the first season did, because the first season just ended in June, and here we are August, and we're already getting ready to play games again. So it was very, very short. So clubs have had to really ramp up and sign their players in. But it's because they're running in the fall to spring schedule and they're in line with the European schedules. That's why you're seeing a lot of players that were playing in Europe able to come over.
John, you mentioned Lexington's, opening up the pocketbook and cutting a few checks this year. What are some of the other big stories heading into year two?
I would say, first off, just to see Sporting Jacks. I think anytime you have a new club, people want to see the shiny new thing, and we're going to see how that club's going to do. Season tickets, I think last report about 6,000. So certainly there's support in the community for the club. That'll be good to see. I think an intriguing story is going to be Carolina, because they did so well throughout the year, and they got the playoffs, and then they got knocked out in the semifinals. I think a good team with a chip on their shoulder, I think, is a very, very interesting combination for them. And they only improved. They added to their roster. They kept most of their players. So offensively, they could be potentially scary this year, and they were pretty scary in the second half last year.
John, obviously you mentioned those season tickets being sold, and we know we've seen some success like in Tampa Bay and the sort of the numbers in Carolina last season. How do you feel like the war, and maybe war is the wrong word, but the challenge of finding fans, getting interest built around this league, how is that going from your perspective as someone that covers the league?
I think they're doing a fairly good job with it. I mean, I feel like they recently did a little cross promotion with NASCAR, where they had Super League emblazoned on one of the cars. I think that's an interesting take. Not just strictly going for the soccer fan, but just going for the more general sports fan. I think with any new league, I think the biggest thing is just showing a sense of permanence, that this is not a one and done. This is not a league that's just barely hang on. This is a league that's intended on staying for a while. And I think that helps with attendance. And I think, and basically the product is a good product. And I thought last year, Super League was a good product, very good games. And you've heard this a lot, that women's sports is having a moment, and I hate that term, but the idea is that people are more open to women team sports, which historically had been a struggle, but clearly in the last number of years that clearly has changed, where people will go see women team sports.
Hey John, Tampa did a really good job in the end winning the title. It was Tampa Bay Sun, right, guys? For those of us obviously don't watch the league as much as others, is there a sense of parity about this league? Can we expect some of the top teams to challenge for the title this year? Or is it going to come from a team we're not expecting? Who do you expect to challenge for the championship this year?
I would like to say that there's going to be more parity. I think right now, the way I see it, the good teams last year got better. So I don't see any drop there. And some of the teams like Lexington, as a prime example, really improved the roster a lot. So if you're a club that made only minor changes, you're probably going to struggle, because there was really no drop off from the good teams. I think Tampa Bay got stronger, Carolina got stronger. Dallas is healthy this year, where they were struggling with health with their injuries. All three made the playoffs, so I don't see them not making the playoffs. I think the club that probably has the widest variance, because we're still learning who they're bringing in, is Brooklyn. They did this last year too. Going into the season, they seemed like they were just kind of building things right up until the beginning of the year, and they're doing it again this year. They're still not quite at a full roster in terms of players that they've signed. They still seem thin on the offensive side, but the players that they have brought in are all experienced players. They're all coming from Europe. These are not players that are out of college. These are professionals. So they're building a veteran side. built to compete. If we just need to see where the goals are coming from, but I think they have if I'd say one club's the X factor, I think it would probably be them. They could finish anywhere from 7th, 8th, or make the playoffs. I mean, it could be that drastic.
John, one of the things that I'm always looking for are those goals. I know last year Allie Thornton won Golden Boot for Dallas. If you had to pick 2 or 3 players that we should be watching for that are going to have big offensive years, who stands out to you off the roster list?
Well, certainly we're all curious to see what's going to happen with Mina Ekic going to Lexington. So the question with her is she going to be focused on goal scoring, or is she more in assisting? If she's more goal scoring, we definitely have to look at her. I think again we have to look at Allie Thornton for Dallas with a healthier Dallas, with a healthy Lexi Missimo in the midfield. I think that's a great opportunity. So I don't really see any new players right now as far as challenging for Golden Boot. I think there's a couple clubs right now I think are going to be struggling for goals, period. So I think you kind of the same favorites that were doing well last year. Probably the one that you probably will not see as much on there is probably Addie McCain. She'll probably have a different role with Lexington. She's not going to be looked upon to score goals. I think she's going to be looked on to more as a facilitator in the midfield,
which she kind of did last season in the second half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, John, as we look forward to the start of the USL Super League season, there was some news that dropped about the USLW League, and I thought it's not for a good half a year away, guys, but it's big news. It's coming out of Madison, Wisconsin. One of the big clubs in USL League One made the announcement. Big Top Events LLC, which owns Forward Madison, announced last Friday that they would create a team to participate in the USLW League in 2026, that's right around the corner as far as those amateur leagues are concerned. A quote is, "This day is long overdue in Madison. Our ownership group is excited to be bringing women's soccer to this great women's sports city," club CEO Connor Kaloa said. "And as a dad of a girl playing soccer, we take pride in the fact that we'll be creating a step in the pathway to becoming a professional soccer player in Madison." John, isn't it interesting that they didn't announce it as Forward Madison's women's team, but the announcement implies it will have its own identity, similar to what they've done down in Richmond?
Yeah, and I think that's been also a trend with women's sports as a whole, that even if you're part of an existing organization, they try to establish a separate identity for the women, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I think it's great that Ford Madison is going to have a women's side. I agree with them. It's long overdue, and I love the idea of hopefully I'm pretty sure this will happen, that the division they're in, they're going to be playing Minnesota Roar, which I think is that's going to be a great match, that matchup there with the fan bases.
Sorry, go ahead.
I
was gonna say, as you were talking about, you mentioned Richmond, we talked about Forward Madison. Sorry for stepping on you there. Do you think we can see a Henny Derby extension into this, like potentially? Now, here's the problem: these teams aren't going to play each other unless they make it to the playoffs because of how the USLW League is structured. Can you have a rivalry without matches? Do you think they can find some way of creating buzz around this? Because the Henny Derby is the biggest deal we've been to one, John.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, the rivalry only really works if you play each other. I mean, you can theoretically have a rivalry with any club, but really what really makes the rivalry is what happens on the field. I mean, the Henny Derby is a very special thing. It's organic. It wasn't created in a boardroom. It's enjoyed by so many people. It's one of the things that we love about lower league soccer. If they do happen to face each other in the playoffs in the USLW, I would hope that they would try to do something. I think that would be pretty cool if they could do something kind of an offshoot or something similar to that. That would be great.
I think a lot of it could come down to scheduling, right? So sometimes USL League 2 teams can, for the preservation of fields during that particular season, schedule their men's and women's team to be back to back or one day after the other. So we could see we could see some scheduling, maybe not with these two teams, but with some really interesting organizations that have teams in both great leagues. John, coming off a great season in the W League, what does an organization have to do between now and next spring to be competitive in the W League?
Well, we've talked to people who run USLW League teams, and they tell you